Hey folks, I'm Owl, this is Yarnell Reads, and this is my 2019 Midyear book Freakout tag. So it's been a while. Hi, I'm here. I don't know if this is going to be a one-off or if I'm going to make some other videos this year. I'm not sure. I am a few months away from finishing grad school. I should be done with that in December. So this is a thing that I wanted to do and I thought would make me feel good. And so I'm doing it. If this does end up being my only video of 2019, that's fine. I'm still fairly active on Instagram and Twitter. I'll have that linked down below. I'm still reading just as much. I think I've read over 100 books so far this year. It's just that I don't have time to I don't have the time or energy to film or really write blog posts. I haven't been doing that much either. Anyway, with all of that said, let's jump into the questions. Question 1 is, what was the best book I have read so far in 2019? I have a list. I can't pick one, so I will pick several, and I'll try and pick ones that aren't going to come up again later in other questions. I loved We Set the Dark on Fire by Taylor K. Mejia. I loved The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. I loved it so much that my favorite bookmark just sort of lives inside of it. And it marks my favorite page. Because I'm a nerd. There was also Empire of Light by Alex Harrow. The Afterword by E.K. Johnson. Or Johnston? Do I own that one? I do, but it's on my wife's bedside table and I'm not going to get up and grab it. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. And lots of others, but I think they're all going to come up later in the video. Question 2 is, what was the best sequel I read so far in 2019? For me, that none of these are going to have just one answer. Just like be prepared. So some of the best sequels I've read this year, because I've read a lot of sequels, much more than I usually do, have been A Duke by Default by Alyssa Cole, and also Can't Escape Love by Alyssa Cole. That Kind of Guy by Talia Hibbert was amazing. The entire Criminal Intention series, so I read the first one, and then I've read up through episode 6 or 7. For folks who don't know, the Criminal Intention series is written as a police procedural. It's by Cole McCade. Each novel is one episode, and then the first 13 novels are the first season. And it's queer and diverse and just, I love it. I love it a lot with my whole heart. The only downside is that there aren't audiobooks, and so I'm getting through them very slowly. I went through a period where I read like 4 of them in a couple of weeks, but visual reading is just going so slowly for me this year that I'm limping along through it. Question 3 is a new release that I have not read yet, but that I want to. So for that, we have Tell Me How You Really Feel by Amina May Safi, Death Prefers Blondes by Caleb Rohrig, and then some physical ones I have are The Weight of the Stars by Kay Ankrum. I still need to read Wicker King from her too. Destiny raves about it, and so I'm getting there. I pinky promise, squish. I've also got Out of Salem by Hal Shreve and Kiss Number 8 by Colleen A.F. Venable and Ellen T. Crenshaw. Also, Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. I don't know how I haven't read that yet. Question 4 is my most anticipated release from the second half of 2019. For that, I've got Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater, His Hideous Heart, and it's edited by Dahlia Adler. And it's 13 retellings of Edgar Allan Poe stories, and then it also has the 13 original stories in the second half, and the cover is beautiful. And I love Dahlia Adler, she's awesome, and I love Edgar Allan Poe, and it's everything I need. I'm also excited for Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett, All the Bad Apples by Moira Fowley Doyle, and Tarnished Are the Stars by Rosie Thor. The next question is my biggest disappointment for 2019 so far, and I've got two books. The first is, unfortunately, Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. It wasn't bad, and I went into it knowing that it was written in the 70s, and that, like, as much as it has some gender-neutral representation, like, it was written before she could really do as much as she wanted to with it. I've read interviews where Ursula K. Le Guin explained that she wanted to go further and just couldn't at the time. All that being said, the problem I had was with the writing style, and it was just too slow and too dense for me. The other one was it's a book that I actually liked. It was just a little disappointing, and that was the Mira Grant one with mermaids, Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. So I read the novella first and then the novel, and I loved the novella. And I didn't expect the novel to be pretty much the same story, just longer. I expected it to go places the novella didn't, and I guess it did, but the plot hit all of the same beats. A lot of the characters felt really similar. And also, I think that the thing at the end that was supposed to be a twist was not a twist for me, because, surprise, if you didn't know this, I'm a marine biologist, so at the end of the novella, I think I figured out something that I wasn't supposed to figure out until the end of the novel. So I have mixed feelings. It was good. I will probably reread it. But I wanted it to do a little something else, a little something more than what it did. The next question is, what is my biggest surprise of this year? So, one, that you can add fanfiction on Goodreads. So some of the longer fanfictions, especially in popular shows and in popular fandoms like Supergirl and the Avengers or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they're on Goodreads, and so I've definitely been reading a lot of fanfiction, and I've been adding the ones that I can to my Goodreads and keeping track of what I'm reading this year. It's fun. It's nice. Fanfiction is not something one should be ashamed of, and I read enough of it, and it counts as reading, that I'm really glad I can include it in the place where I keep track of what I read. As far as the biggest surprise with books, I'm going to go with Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I read it after a bunch of my friends did. I went to ALA and was hanging out with Madeline from Novel Inc., Jane from It's Jane Lindsay, and Chelsea from Chelsea Darling Raids, and we all got copies of Red, White, and Royal Blue. And they all read it, and, like, loved it, were raving about it. I read it, and it was like, when I first finished it, I was like, that was good. But, like, it wasn't soul-changing. And that was my initial takeaway from that. That was what I walked away with. But then it wouldn't get out of my head, and I just kept thinking of scenes that I enjoyed and moments that I liked. And so I was like, especially as it was getting closer to release, and I wanted to update my review so that I could put it on Goodreads and send it to NetGalley and all of that. And the second time I read it, it was just, it was so, the second time I read it was not a different experience. It was just more. I already knew I liked the characters, and that second read moved it from like to love. And it took moments that I had enjoyed and made them into moments that I just laughed at hysterically or sobbed at. The reason this book was a surprise is because I read it and didn't think it was going to be a favorite of the year, and now I've read it 5 times. And now I've read it a lot of times, and I'm going to read it a lot more times. It is, like, it has gotten to the point where, anytime anybody mentions Red, White, and Royal Blue, I immediately am like, I want to reread it. I know I reread it last week, but I want to. For reasons. The grocery store we go to has started playing Don't Stop Me Now, and every time I hear it, I think, I want to reread Red, White, and Royal Blue. So yeah, that was a very pleasant surprise to get a new favorite book after a reread. The next question is, who is my favorite new author of this year? And both of these authors are new to me, they're not debuts, and it's Talia Hibbert and Cole McCade. So I have read these Talia Hibbert books so far this year. The only book that is actually competing with Red, White, and Royal Blue for most rereads is actually A Girl Like Her by Talia Hibbert. And honestly, I just go back and forth. Those are my happy reads. Those are my, I feel not my best, which is a lot lately. And I just need something that's going to brighten my day. And so I have these two. I have them on audiobook, and they're amazing. And then for Cole McCade, I read, I think last year actually was the first time I read one of his books. But like it was okay. It was his Cocky Valet, and it was fine. But then I started the Criminal Intention series this year, and it blew my mind. And there's a couple others that he's written or is currently writing that I am just so excited about. So yes, Cole McCade is wonderful and you should go support him. The next question is, who is my new favorite character? So, as is not at all surprising, I have several. The first is Hero. They were written by Sarah Gailey. Technically they're in River of Teeth, but I didn't actually read them for the first time in River of Teeth. So I made a mistake with this series. It's a duology. It's River of Teeth, and then it's followed by Taste of Marrow. I checked out both audiobooks from the library, and I didn't pay attention to which one I clicked when I started listening, and I didn't look at my screen again for a couple hours. And when I looked, I realized I had been listening to the second book. But at that point, I was invested. I was not going to stop. I needed to know what happened right now. So I finished the second book, and then I only just went back and read the first one. I actually like the second book better. The first one is fine. We introduce characters. But honestly, a mark of how amazing Sarah Gailey's writing is that I didn't notice. They did enough in writing the second book and starting it that it could have just been a first book. And yeah, just I cannot wait to get my hands on. Mostly I can't wait to get my ears on Magic for Liars. There's also Zach and Ruth from Talia Hibbert books. Ruth is from A Girl Like Her, and Zach is from her newest one, that was That Kind of Guy. Ruth is amazing because she is fat and nerdy and autistic and just gives no fucks, and I love her and I relate to her on a lot of different levels. And Zach is amazing because he is a cinnamon roll of a human, but he's also mad. He's got anger issues and he doesn't really necessarily know what to do with that anger, and I relate to that right now. So those two, they are not love interests, like they are the heroes of their own books, but they are my favorites in that world. I also absolutely love Malcolm and Songjae from the Criminal Intention series by Cole McCade, and Portia and Regina from the Reluctant Royal series. They're twin sisters, and in the same way that I relate deeply to Ruth, I also relate deeply to both of these sisters. Portia is understanding that she has ADHD and is working to make that work for her and to figure out ways that she can live that work with the way her mind works instead of working against it. And Regina is just, she's nerdy and she's amazing and she gives no I love her a lot. And then as far as Malcolm and Songjae go, Malcolm is this bear of a human, and also he cares so deeply and he just wants to fix things. And that just does things to me. And then Songjae is, I don't think he's neurotypical, but they haven't gone into that so far in the series as I've read it. But the way he thinks, he's so analytical, and the way he compartmentalizes his feelings and his thoughts, I really enjoyed reading that, and I felt seen reading that. The next two questions are books that made me cry and a book that made me laugh, or a book that made me happy. So I'm going to do one of each, and then I'm going to talk about two books that did both. So a book that made me cry was A Heart in a Body in the World by Debbie Caletti. I read this because of Madeline. It is all her fault, but it was so good. It explores the effect of toxic masculinity on women outside of just talking about sexual assault and sexual harassment, and the experiences that she went through in high school mirrored so many of the experiences I dealt with that so many shivers reading this book, so many tears, but it's really, really good. Just, if you're going to read it, go into it when you're in a good place. Please read safely and take care of yourself, loves. I will link something with all the trigger warnings down below. And then a book that made me happy, which could also be thrown into a book that was a surprise category, is The Disasters by M.K. England. I knew it was queer and I knew it was sci-fi, and I was, excited about it because queer sci-fi is an important part of my soul, but I didn't expect to love it, and I didn't expect it for it to be so funny. It was just hilarious and in a dry way that it really appeals to my sense of humor. I have a difficult time explaining why I like this book or how I like this book. And mostly it is that it made me laugh and I was not expecting to, and that was wonderful. And then two books that made me laugh and made me cry. One was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This book is hilarious. This book is heartbreaking. Every time I read certain scenes now, I tear up. And I don't even have to read certain scenes. I just have to think about them and I will start laughing. This book, just all of the ways it connects to me emotionally, it connects deeply. And so it gets all of the reactions from me. And the second one is The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James by Ashley Herring Blake. This is her newest middle grade. It's queer. I read her other middle grade this year as well, and it was okay. I didn't like it as much. The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James did for me what her other book wasn't able to quite get to. And that was, it just deeply got into my emotions. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It was just so good. The next question is, what is a beautiful book that I have seen this year? Do I even need to say more? These authors, Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy, I was able to meet them at ALA. My copy is actually signed and personalized. I want to be Corey McCarthy when I grow up. I want to be both of them. They are goals. They are relationship goals. They are writer goals. And this book is queer sci-fi goals. And finally, some books that I need to read by 2020. Anything that I have mentioned so far that I haven't read yet. So, Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. Out of Salem by Hal Shreve. I am not good at names, folks. All the Bad Apples by Moira Fowley Doyle. His Hideous Heart, edited by Dahlia Adler. Queenie. I really want to read Queenie. I don't remember who that's by. I will have it up here. Definitely Tell Me How You Really Feel. Definitely Caleb Rohrig's new one, Death Prefers Blondes. All the books. I need to read all the books. And that is everything. Thanks for watching, however long this video is going to end up being. If you want to keep up with me even when I'm not posting videos, all of my social media and my blog, everything is linked down below. I hope that you're having a wonderful day, and other than that, I'll see y'all later. Bye.